Hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth video in the poetry series. As I mentioned last week, I was going to start this beginning of this video on a limb of a tree in this particular area of the property that belongs to Ruth Weber. It's quite a little climb to come up to this elevation, and I couldn't help but think as I made that little trek that although I'm walking more slowly these years, at least I still can do it. And for that I'm very grateful. And it reminds me of a little prayer poem I wrote one time, dedicated to a friend of mine who had had a very bad fall in her apartment that led to her loss of mobility and eventually to an early death. So this is dedicated to Margaret Ormondy. Spirit Mechanics. Thank you for the miracle of movement. Thank you for the ease with which I direct my body wherever I want to go. Should I ever lose this capacity, let me not be discouraged. Let me not lose hope. Help me to realize that by your infinite grace, I can never be truly confined. My spirit will always be free to soar above adversity, to dance in your light, and to run to your loving embrace. In this time of the pandemic, I think we're all very aware of how restricted our movement has become, not only locally, but within our country and internationally as well. And that raises thoughts to me about a poem I created in 2008 when I was visiting in Arizona for the winter. Where I was staying was a little place called Bisbee, Arizona, very close to the border with Mexico. And I found myself with a group of people from the Episcopal Church helping to staff a resource center just inside the Mexican border to serve as a humanitarian effort for migrants. And I was so very aware of the disparity that exists between those who have and have not, that was very clearly defined by a very ugly border fence that, of course, in recent years has become even more of an issue. So I was moved to create a poem called Borderline Faults. And it was interesting to me about this poem because shortly after its creation, I found myself on a radio station in Bisbee at their invitation to share the poem and just to talk about the issue in general. And then the next day, my inbox was flooded with requests by ecumenical societies to share the poem. So it's out there somewhere, and if you feel that it could resonate with anybody, then I certainly invite you to share it. I'm very happy if you share anything that I've created. So here's Borderline Faults. Will there be any borders in heaven, like man has designed here on earth? Will the Christians, the Jews, or the Muslims stake claims to the land of rebirth? Will great leaders of all religions build fences to keep out the souls who might ask for a share of the riches from streets that are paved with pure gold? Will there be any borders in heaven? Will passports record all our prayers? Will the angels examine our baggage and ask us to step over there? Will God classify each by a country, or judge by the color of skin, or assess by the languages spoken, or rank by the number of sins? There won't be any borders in heaven reflecting our bank account size, for equality's realm has no boundaries in the borderless, beautiful sky. On the earth, every person's a border, and ownership's not what it seems, for we all only lease our belongings and cling to our hopes and our dreams. Just imagine a world with no borders, where everyone's free to explore and to live where we choose with a freedom that often we seem to ignore. Perhaps we should tear down the borders and welcome our brothers to share opportunities we have been given and riches that cannot compare. For good luck is a matter of balance that can tip with the turn of the tide, and positions of privilege alter with the winds of indifference and pride. And one day we may find ourselves longing for a place we can never attain, where we'd risk everything for one moment in a land with less struggle and pain. Let us try to expand our horizons, enlarge both our hearts and our minds, before each of us faces the boundary that closes the border called time. Down there is Bell Creek, where I always like to conclude the videos. So I'm going to go down there now. I will use my walking stick to try to help me keep upright. It's a stick actually that comes from Arizona. It was made by an artist from a piece of cactus from a desert in Arizona. So just bear with me now while I make this little descent. Just want to show you where I was sitting. It's a lovely little perch for reflection. I hope you've had a great week. Had a wonderful opportunity to tour this week into the Beaver Valley, where the colors were just coming into their prime. I do realize, of course, that it's not a simple matter of just tearing down all our borders. But I think one of the roles of a poet is to present life not only in its reality, but also in a conception of what could be in a better world. I think that the song Imagine by John Lennon really encapsulated that idea. Apparently it was inspired by poetry that his wife had created, so later on she was credited with being a co-writer of that song, Yoko Ono. Okay, so here we are, back at our little bench, and the color has developed quite a bit in the space of 1 week. I mentioned that I would tell you a little bit about that verse last week that talked about planting a noble thought into the heartstream of a child. It was credited to the International Oddfellows, and that really intrigued me because I thought, okay, what is that, and am I odd enough to belong? I'm sure there are many who would agree. But when I did a little bit of research, I found out that the Oddfellows is an international fraternity that was first documented in 1730 in London and then spread overseas. They believe in the universal brotherhood of man. It's non-partisan, non-sectarian, welcoming of all people without regard to religion, race, gender, sexual orientation, and national origin. And a goal of the Oddfellows is to elevate the character of man in the daily exercise of friendship, love, and truth, they strive to make a better world. So the Breathe poem for today, that stands for beautiful, rhyming English, adds to healing energy. And I think that the Oddfellows would probably approve of this poem that I'll recite to you. Again, it came to me a long time ago from something that my aunt had sent to me, and the author really is unknown, so that's unfortunate that I can't credit the writer, but she was obviously a teacher. And I think in these days where a lot of homeschooling is happening, there is something in this message that is pretty important. I wonder, year after year, they come to me, these children with questioning looks. Year after year, they leave me as they leave their outgrown books. And I wonder sometimes if I've taught them just some of the worthwhile things, just some of the things they'll need in life, be they peasants or poets or kings. Have I taught them the joy of clean living, that honor is better than fame, that good friends are the greatest of treasures, wealth less than an untarnished name? Have I taught them respect to the aged, protection to those who are weak, that silence always is golden when gossip bids them speak? Have I taught them that fear is a coward who is beaten when they say, I can, that courtesy ranks with courage in the heart of the true gentleman? Have I taught them these things and others that will help make them brave, kind, and true? If I have, then I care not if they tell me that Machu Picchu is not a town in Peru. And before the next video, we'll be in the month of October. There's a lovely little poem by Lois Duncan that I always share in the beginning of October. It's called it's called Autumn Courtship. October wraps once, and I sigh like a martyr and go to the door. I am not to be charmed by this kiss-and-run lover. I've known him before. I am braced for the hazel-flecked gaze and the flash of his insolent grin. I am busy with summer. I tell him, as always, you may not come in. But he laughs in my face as he holds out the gift I can never withstand. A maple leaf, bright as a flame, on the palm of his winter-chapped hand. So if you're in Canada, where I live, I hope that you'll find lots of those bright as a flame maple leaves in the next few weeks. And wherever you might be listening from, just enjoy the natural beauty that is such a gift from this universe. Have a great week, everybody. And I hope you'll return for the 5th video next Sunday. Bye for now.